Right, let's do it. So, Coach Helen for You Fit Studio. Now, oh, I got some more people. That was good. It's like I clapped and they appeared. When the scales are failing you, okay, it happens to us all. It's like they're lying. It's like the scales are lying to us and we don't understand why. We just don't understand why. So we think we got like, right, I'm doing everything. Well, first things first, I always say this because I had this with a household of clients. So it was all my clients in one household. Check your batteries first. There's the first tip. If you think your batteries might be lying to you, it's digital. Check your batteries, because actually, once you change it, it's like, oh my god, I lost £2. I think my scales were actually broke. I was like, oh no, I just need to check the batteries. So first things first, check your batteries. True story. Second list, there is a checklist of things, right, to go through to make sure you're not actually losing your marbles, right? Because a lot of clients will say to me, and this is actually, well, I say you have to go through this checklist, right? If you're not sure, contact your coach and ask them to go through it with you if there's anything you're not sure of. Because sometimes, right, you are legitimately doing everything, right? Everything that you know you're meant to be doing, right? And when I say that, hey, Trusha. When I say that, I mean you are, I don't know, like you're doing your food, you're really being mindful of your, jump to there, counting's still an issue. You're doing everything with your food. You're being aware of your calories to some degree without counting. You're training regularly. You're really cutting down a lot of stuff. You're doing everything consistently and you're getting on the scales and it's not giving you the outcome that you're expecting. Even though you're doing everything, right, and legitimately, like some clients are consistently doing everything that they are meant to be doing. Kate said, my scales used to say one at a time, please. I love that. Not anymore, Kate. They're like that. Don't understand now, but they look like that. Where are you? Where's the rest of you? So, oh, lost everything. Back. If you're doing everything that you know is consistent, you're following the same process that you have done for X amount of weeks, months, years even, and suddenly, well, something's not right on the scales. And it's not all the time. It might just be this one time, and maybe it's just come at the wrong time. And you look at it and going, why? What is happening here? Because this can't possibly be true. The scales have got to be lying to me. My scales are failing me right now because I know I'm doing everything within my power that I am meant to be doing to get a result. What is it? Right? And I'm going to go through those things now. Right? I'm going to go for the big ones, the obvious ones first. And I'm going to go through the littler, the lesser, shall we say, hairier known reasons why you might be getting on the scales and not getting the result that you're looking for, other than changing the batteries. So change batteries first, tick, right? Change the batteries and then you know where you're at. I'm sure some of you know about that one. So after you've changed the batteries, here's some things to consider. Now, first one, I've done a live on it on its own. I am going to get into a little bit more. I'm going to get into detail, but I am going to get into more into understanding your own trends. If you are a woman, then it's going to be partly to do with your actual cycle as well, right? So let's just overview it, because actually there is some other details of it that happen. So if you split it down into, I have to go my fingers to count, 4 weeks. So we're going to have a 4-week process. Week 1, so after you finish your period, your water weight will be at its lowest. So check, if you check in the calendar, if this is one of the reasons you're like, what's going on? Okay. Unusual that your water weight or your weight be wrong here. Week 2 is just before ovulation, and actually your water rises up a little bit. So theoretically, if you're going through your checklist and thinking first things first, am I near ovulation, so halfway through my cycle, my water might be up a little bit. Okay, so what can I do if the scales align to me at this particular time? Wait a week, because week 3 your water will come back down again. Okay, so if you go through the checklist, first thing to check is where are you in your cycle. If it's week 2 to start with, breathe in, calm, wait until week 3 when it goes back down. What if it's week 4? Week 4 you'll probably know about already. I would hope, if you've watched any of these lives or listened to previous ones, you'll know the week 4 your water is going to be at its highest just before you're due to have your period. So again, if you're going through the checklist and breaking down the weeks by 1 to 4, and it's week 2 or week 4, you know that it is incoming. Therefore, wait till week 1 to redo your weight so that you can see, right, after my period, at least 2 to 5 days afterwards, I've dropped back down. Something, see, easy. Checklist 1 done. All right. So if you're getting the scales and you think I've changed your batteries and you're still lying to me, check your weeks again. To repeat, check if it's week 2 or week 4. Both of those weeks are weeks where your water weight is going to be changing and lifting a little bit due to hormonal changes. So don't worry about week 2, week 4. Checklist that way. So far we've got check batteries, check your cycle. If it's week 2 or week 4 of your cycle, that is why your scales are lying to you. Keep saying the batteries one, because that is I don't think people use their batteries so much at their batteries, their scales so much at home in the last 6 months. So some of them are running a little bit low right now. So yeah, they actually can not tell you the full truth when you've got a full charge of battery. Next thing to check, right? So next thing to check, right, is and look, I'll have this a lot. So I'll go for this conversation, right, with a client. So that I'm following in this checklist now a conversation I'll have with a client. So if a client says, oh my God, I don't understand. I've not lost weight. I've been doing everything, Helen. I've trained 4 times the last 3 weeks. All my food has been on point. I've had gin and tonic. I didn't have that cake. First things first, the scale's right, you know, where are you cycle? Next one, okay, because if you go through the cycle and like, and the client knows as well, if she's worked with me for a while, she goes, look, I'm not even during my period. I'm not ovulating. I don't understand. My weight should be down round by now. What is happening? I'll be right, okay, what did you have to eat the night before you did your weigh-in? Okay. If I haven't seen it in the photo or the diary, next question, what did you have to eat the night before or the day before your check? I'm not expecting, by the way, they've had a brick. Just had a breeze block and got on the scales to see what would happen. It's not about that. What I'm looking for and what I'm checking for is how many carbs or carbohydrates has a client had before getting on the scales. An absolute classic of this would be a male client of mine who last year, he was running a marathon last year, so he was eating a lot of food. However, one day before a check-in, it was described as some pasta, and then his wife sent me a photo, and some pasta was pretty much looked like, I can't even describe, it was a large amount of pasta. It was literally like a serving bowl, except it was just for him. Like, fair play to him, he did need a lot of energy. However, for every you know, I'm gonna get too technical with words and stuff. Carbohydrates break down into glycogen. So with every 1 gram of glycogen we store for energy from carbohydrates, we also store, really my fingers again, 3 grams of water. So for every 1 gram of energy we store from glycogen, we also store 3 grams of water. Therefore, if you're having a large carbohydrate meal and storing some energy to expend in your boot camp the next day, or your online met, or your strength class with us, then you are going to be storing water with it. So many times a client has gone, I'm not even during my period, Helen. I'm like, what did you have last night? I had pasta and carbs at lunch. I'm like, okay. Again, okay, so solution to that, if you do the checklist in your own head, is to, I always just say to client, leave it 24, 48 hours. Sometimes if they're not having too many carbs the same, that following day, 24 hours and actually to 48 is enough for you to start to see a drop down of that, because you are going to be burning through your glycogen stores for energy and fuel over a 48 to 72 hour period. Therefore, anything stored is going to be actually used for energy. You're not always constantly topping up with large carb meals, right? So especially working with us, we know how we do the portions and stuff for you. So actually you will see, and actually I'm sure some of you on here as well have done this with as well, test it in 48 hours. And I remember 2 weeks ago, the same situation with a client on the Monday. The Wednesday, she was like freaking out, going, I was like, Wednesday, do you check in again on Wednesday? Just leave it, Wednesday. Leave it, Wednesday, be good. Then she must be going, oh my God, you were right. I'm like, occasionally it happens. And actually it came, she dropped down by 2 pounds. So you drop down by 1 kilo, which sounds quite a lot really, isn't it? She'd had quite a carb heavy weekend, and actually consistency had paid off because actually her water rate still dropped down. So it's always great to remember that it's about what's in your body stored, and if you are having a high carbohydrate meal before you check in, especially in the morning after, that's it. That can be the explanation, and that's one of the reasons why also, if you're like, oh, this is making sense, why sometimes you will get on the scales from one day to the next and see something different if you are doing that, if you get sucked into that hole, and it's not, you can, again, that's the point. You don't always want to weigh yourself every day unless you are in a certain mindset, because imagine if you were seeing that all the time, it would send you nuts. If you know you're doing everything you're meant to do, actually consistently over time, if you measure though and actually see the trends, you can see where that would match to what you're eating and overall still come down, right? Check. So far then, check your batteries, check your cycle, check your carbs. Then, whoa, here we know this one. This is the next one. It's again to do with nutrition, and again a reason why the scales might fail you, even though being consistent, is actually to do with the content of your food in terms of salt. So sodium binds with water and it stops, basically it traps it in the body almost, really. So if you are having a high salt meal, for whatever reason, either you over seasoned it, you overcooked it before you over seasoned it, or it is just I tell you the worst one for this, or not a lot of clients actually eat this, but one of the most highest, so after Pringles, I mean, I don't talk about Pringles too much, however, after that you will generally see something like, if someone has gammon as a meat for their dinner, with just normal food with a carbohydrate as well, like mashed potato or potato, you will generally see their weight rocket the next day. Then you have to pick through the food to understand what it is that might have caused their water levels to rise. And it's generally because of all the things, gammon is generally quite a salty meat. So what happens is that the water is binded to the sodium and then it traps it within the body. So as I said, couple that, if you thinking about this already as a checklist, in case like, oh yeah, Kate will know this one. So think about the example I've just given. If you couple a high salt meal with a large carb, then actually you get the double whammy. So actually someone's water, their weight, right, let me just use the right language, their weight the next day on the scales will look extraordinarily high for no apparent reason with consistency. However, it's their water that's increased or has been not firstly stored with the glycogen as energy, or part of the energy, right? The 1 gram of glycogen, 3 grams water. And then also any water that normally come out has been trapped by the high sodium. So again, you get the real one, right? So again, it's no different solution to any of the other actual solutions to this. It's just a game of patience, because your body will naturally go back to the normal levels. It will naturally want to, I love this word, I love the phrase, it sounds flashy, homeostasis. Homeostasis. I think it's the most flashy I've got with words for the whole 6 months, 7 months, where we are. You remember I used to count out what episode this is? It's like episode 164, something like that. Homeostasis, glycogen. Throwing out the big guns now. However, your body will want to get back to its natural state, right? So it just wants to get back to its natural balance. So it will, again, over about 48 hours, the salt and the water levels will actually come back to normal. And it's I'll say this, right, for a summation of the resolution to this. Yes, it's a waiting game. More importantly, it's a trust in the process. Okay, so trusting your own process and trusting in your own behaviors. If you 100% know that you have been doing everything to gain towards your goal, whatever that might be, then it stands to reason that it will give you what you're looking for. The thing is, if you actually believe 100% of the time that 100% of what you see on the scales is 100% correct without understanding a trend, that's where sometimes people will get frustrated and take on emotionally what they believe the scales are failing them or lying to them. it's the scales aren't actually, they're telling you the truth. They're telling you an outcome of things going in your body that you cannot see, and can't clearly define in an easy way. So if you take every failure as the truth, that's where some people, when it gets into I would say losing body fat, right, rather than weight, body fat, can run into trouble or challenges mentally, because they'll get frustrated and think that the process isn't working. Because that one reading one morning after a gammon and chips, I would guess in that case, gammon and chips why is the weight all coming off? I don't understand, right? But actually, the truth is, for clients, they can have gammon and chips and lose body fat if you being consistent for the rest of the time. And again, within the right moderation for you, it's just trusting that you're actually doing everything that you're meant to do and going to see the result. So, whew, still need a bit of tea now. I've gone dry. I've got too much salt in my diet. Right, recap. Right, sometimes the scales lie to us and we do not know why. We just don't know. We're like, dude, why you do this to me? I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing. I'll say it again, say it first, say it again, say it a million times. Check your damn batteries first, people. Like, if the symbol is flashing, stop ignoring it. Get some batteries. Don't wait for it to dead end. Get some batteries and make sure it's recording correctly. Understand that if you are being consistent, there's got to be some of these checklists I'm going to go through now, right? So first thing, check your cycle. Are you week 2 or week 4? That doesn't work, does it? Week 2 or week 4? Well, if it's week 2 or week 4, your water's going to be raised a little bit anyway. And that's to do all your hormonal shifts with ovulation and being due on your period. So chill your boots, wait a week or wait till after your period and see the change on the scales again. If you've had a high carbohydrate meal, so many syllables today, a high carbohydrate meal, know that with 1 gram of glycogen from carbohydrates as energy, you'll be storing that with 3 grams of water. So stands to reason, if you're storing more glycogen, you'll be storing more water. Again, leave it be. Patience. 48 hours, you will again see a shift down. If it's not that, consider, you really have to oversalt your food to get to this point. However, if you have had a meal that has, for whatever reason, a higher sodium content, sodium binds to water, and the result is actually traps it within the body, if you like, and then put that with a high carbohydrate meal as well, and there you go. That's the reason why you think your scales are failing you. It's actually just what your body's doing to process energy and food. So yeah, final point, trust the process. If you are doing everything on the label, then you are, and it will pay off and it will work. So trust, people, trust. Honestly, it'll be all right. Tomorrow, calorie ninjas. Love them. I'll come dressed. Calorie ninjas. So enjoy your evening, guys, and I will see you tomorrow night.